I see people too struggling with whether they should apply for accommodations or not if they have one kind of disability or another, including learning disabilities, and that takes time too. There's this whole process with LSAC that you have to go through to petition for accommodations, and you have to have documentation, all the paperwork, and then those wheels turn, and that's not something that happens overnight either. And so I've seen people box themselves in with the timing for that as well. So yeah, I mean,
Speaking of, I'm glad you brought up accommodations, Anna, because it's something that there's been some changes on that as well. The LSAC got sued time and time again for being a little bit too strict with granting accommodations, but recently things have gotten a bit more liberal. And now not only are they a bit more liberal with granting accommodations, but there's no longer a mark on students' records.
Correct. So that was a big change.
Yeah. So I'm wondering just what your thoughts are on that, of your experience with that, you setting students up with accommodations. What's the typical process like?
Well, if someone does get accommodations, it depends on what they need and what they're asking for. It can be, you have a broken leg versus, you have ADHD. So I mean, the accommodations are, quite different for different circumstances. But, LSAC has been, as to your point, has been really kind of slow to keep up with federal and state legislation around accommodations in an educational setting. So they were one of the last, if not the last, sort of standardized tests to drop that asterisk that used to be next to the score if you had accommodations, because it would signal to the admissions officer, of course, that that score had been accommodated. So, various government agencies slapped them down and said, no, you can't do that. That actually violates the law. And so now admissions officers don't know whether you've been accommodated or not, unless you feel like telling them. Sometimes that can be interesting. For example, if someone took a test unaccommodated, a lower score, and then gets accommodations, gets a considerably higher score, that might be interesting, right, for an admissions officer to understand, because then the idea would be, well, the accommodated score is probably more predictive of what you'll be able to accomplish in law school, also with accommodations, than, this older unaccommodated score. So, and that's case by case too. But yeah, LSAC definitely dragged its heels and finally caught up with the legal requirements and with other standardized tests. And for example, the GMAT, much earlier dropped the accommodations signaling. So yeah, you'd think that law and lawyer-related tests would keep up to date on those things.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.